doubt a showstopper right now is the one and only, no other. Just pulled up, lifted, and persisted, ignoring my voice of reason. I've seen things that I'll never mention. I've seen people do more for attention. Here comes Mr. Know-It-All. I know so much, but I don't listen. Lord knows that I feel that pressure. God, please forgive me for stressing. Just pulled up, lifted, and persisted, ignoring my voice of reason. I've seen things that I'll never mention. I've seen people do more for attention. Here comes Mr. Know-It-All. I know so much, but I don't listen. Lord knows that I feel that pressure. God, please forgive me for stressing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Duan and Only Podcast. I have another very special guest today. She's from Muskogee, Oklahoma. She graduated from Muskogee High in 2010. She has her master's degree in urban planning, and she's currently getting her PhD in urban regional science. Miss Schuyler Carter.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
Good. I'm glad you're here. I know you're here for a shorter period of time, but I'm glad I was able to squeeze you in and get you in here today. So how you been through COVID and everything like that? I'm
good. It's I'm just trying to make it like everybody else. Yeah. It's a lot to keep on the brain, amongst all of the other things that are happening in the world, especially amongst our community
Absolutely.
Of African Americans, and just trying to stay sane and just power through.
Absolutely. Same here. Just trying to stay sane, trying to make sure everything's good to go. Especially my mom being in the age bracket where it could seriously hurt her. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, man, ooh, Lord, let's just get through this.
Absolutely.
and keep it pushing, keep it going. So I kind of wanted to ask you, I mentioned about your PhD. So what made you want to go, you already got your master's now. What made you want to go ahead and pursue your PhD?
As hard as it may be to believe, I did not set out to get a PhD.
Really?
Like after I got my bachelor's degree, I was like, I'm done. I wanted to go work for the USDA. I was just like, I just want to go get a good job, work for the government, make me some money. That's it. But my dad encouraged me actually to go for my master's, and I applied to Alabama A&M University, got in, started the program, loved it, fell in love with urban planning, and I knew that from that point on, I could really have an impact on people of color, and especially in the planning field, because it is a predominantly male and predominantly white male field. So there's not really a lot of planners of color, and I knew I wanted to teach to a certain extent, and I knew I could do that and get more women and more students of color interested in planning, because communities are so diverse, and they need diverse representation in those making those authoritative decisions for the community.
Absolutely. And I don't think nobody's doing that here in Muskogee. So just to see that you're doing it, and I know you, and you went to Muskogee, it only makes it even better. I wanted to also mention you mentioned earlier going to school for the urban planning, but I also wanted to ask you about L.W. Thompson. Am I saying Thomas?
Thomas.
Am I saying that right?
Thomas.
I saw recently on one of your posts that you got that site reserved. Could you go in detail about that and how that all came about?
Yeah. So my great grandfather, my maternal great grandfather, my mother's grandfather, actually founded the community of Summit, Oklahoma, which is if you're from Muskogee and you're going to Texas, you pass Summit, Oklahoma, on that Highway 69. It's right off Highway 69, about 8 miles outside of town. And he founded the community. He was a community planner, community builder, pastor, and he struck oil in Mahia, Texas, in 1921, and gained a certain amount of wealth. Racial tensions were not. They were high. The racial tensions in that area were high, and he ultimately migrated his family to Muskogee County and established the community. And he built a house for him and his family. He founded the church, St. Thomas Primitive Baptist Church.
Wow.
And I just have I had a passion for my family history, And I knew we wanted to preserve it. We wanted to, rehab it. And I just told myself in 2017, we need some grant money. And
for sure.
it was the best, because we're not rich people.
Yeah.
But I knew that we would have a better chance of getting grants if the home was on the National Register of Historic Places. So yeah, in 2017, I started the process working with the state Historic Preservation Office in Oklahoma City, and we were able to get it recognized and designated as a historic structure on the national list in 2018. So it is historic. It's in the record books. So it's in the history books.
Your grandfather's super proud right now. You know he's smiling down everything right now, just on that aspect alone. I mean, that's just God right there for me.
Oh yeah.
So I also wanted to ask you, so are you planning on doing that more for Muskogee, or just around just eastern Oklahoma? How are you wanting to do that?
Well, I mean, I have a passion for Muskogee, and especially for Summit, with Reverend L.W. Thomas's legacy, and many of my other relatives from the area. I really have a passion for continuing the legacy of African Americans, especially here in Muskogee. It seems like a lot of that history is being lost, being demolished.
Absolutely.
We only have a handful of structures that are named after significant African Americans that had impacts on the community in the state of Oklahoma.
And not to cut you off, but I love the piece that you did on Sadler.
Yeah.
So that was,
a lot of people don't know.
I didn't know. That's what I was gonna say. I didn't even know. We didn't even know the history of how the elementary became Sadler Arts Academy. But continue. I just had this.
But that was the thing. That's why I do what I do now, because like I said, we went to that elementary school and did not know the history of it. We passed. I can remember passing. There was in the main hallway, there's a shadow box type of thing with his picture and some different artifacts of his life. And I'm like, who is this black man?
Yeah, absolutely.
You see this picture of him as you're walking down the hallway. And we didn't even pay attention to the history. And it just, means a lot more now to be able to highlight that history. And I hope to do more to get back to your question, I hope to do more for Muskogee. Yeah, I'm really, really passionate about highlighting all the excellence that was here, because my grandparents were, longtime educators here, and I learned a lot of Black history from them, and or my grandmother in particular, and a lot of people didn't have that experience. And so, for me to be able to put out information and to share this information to the younger generations, and make them realize, or help them to realize, that the opportunities do not exclude people from Muskogee. Like,
absolutely,
you are from Muskogee, you can do great things. There have been for decades people from Muskogee that have gone on to go to Broadway, living in California, doing all these major things,
and we don't even know about it.
Don't know that they had such long legacies of doing what they really love to do. So,
Exactly. So, man, that's amazing. So, getting back kind of to your PhD, you're currently getting your PhD. You're in your third year, second year?
Second year.
You're in your second year right now. So, I know you're going into your second year, but for my listeners and watchers right now, do you have any advice for, people that are probably in their undergrad stages right now that, seek a higher education, maybe just their master's, or even doing what you're doing right now, your PhD?
My advice, just do it.
Just do it.
Go do it. Don't doubt yourself and your abilities. Don't say, I can't get no master's. I'm not good enough for grad school. Because you are. You just need the drive and you need the passion to get it done. And I was, I'm fortunate enough to have known exactly, I won't say exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew when I started my undergrad, I knew I wanted to do agriculture. And it just, from more research after I got my degree, I found urban planning and I found a connection. So that would be my other advice. Just find a connection with what you're passionate about, because that's going to power you through to finish the degree. And
I think that's perfect. Yeah, because you got a lot of people that go and get their master's or even go get their bachelor's degree, and they just go get it and they don't even have a passion for it. The money might be there, but it's just like they get burnt out, 2-3 years in, and like, I want to change my degree.
Right.
That's kind of what I did, So, but yeah, so that definitely makes sense on aspect of find what you're truly passionate about. That's what this podcast is about, to find your passion. Make sure, whatever you want to do, make sure that you love to do it. Make sure that you're happy about doing it. That's the main important thing. But also, while you're getting your degree right now, you have a podcast of your own called the Millennial Archives.
The Millennial Archivist, yeah.
Archivist, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I have I call it my preservation brand, because it's kind of my way to share history about Muskogee, Oklahoma, in particular, the greater state of Oklahoma, because I saw I started Instagram. It initially started as just an Instagram for me to share family photos, because I had all these old photos and I was like, somebody needs to see these. This is pretty big for that time, because a lot of the photos that I have for that era, families didn't have cameras to just be able to continuously take family photos and have them, for so it's very, I cherish them greatly, and so it started off to share my family photos, and then I realized that it was a much bigger platform to be able to share more stuff and more information about the Oklahoma history and the connection and the Black history of Oklahoma, especially because a lot of people still don't even realize that Black people live in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Like when I tell
seriously,
people,
they still think you're on horses and
teepees. Somebody asked me when I was in Alabama if we still live in teepees, and I'm like,
goodness, no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But I saw it as a platform, and I wanted to share this knowledge, and so I started with the Instagram, and it just grew to now it's a Facebook page, and then also I create YouTube videos that tell little biographical YouTube videos on certain significant people who lived in Muskogee. To share that information, just little bite-sized nuggets of.
I even know that they're in Muskogee. It's still just it's enriching just to be able to see the history of what's going on in Muskogee. I mean, a lot of, like I said earlier about Samuel L. Sadler. I didn't even know about him at all. So I mean, just the simple fact that you did that and basically brought that to the front light, that just made me even more happy that I went to Sadler Arts Academy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Just knowing that the legacy and the history of it was just, phenomenal for me. Yeah. So this podcast, would it be fair to, basically call you kind of a historian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely consider myself a historian, and my family does too.
Okay. Yeah.
They, family history, community historian. That is me. That's what I find enjoyable is, looking through yearbooks and reunion books and stuff. Here's the thing,
though. So usually I have to go ask one of my great aunts or my great uncles, but I don't even have to do that no more. I could just come and ask you. You know what I mean? No, in a good way though. But I would say, because you're such a great historian, and it's more enriching Black, the Black community, which I love, as well. What interests you the most?
I would say two things. So I can't pick just one. The first would be Manual Training High School, which brings us back to Samuel L. Sadler.
Yeah, I already know. I'm telling you, when you posted that, I was like, what?
It brings us back. So he actually was one of so Manual Training High School was the Black high school in Muskogee. For those who aren't aware, before integration, there were two high schools. My
grandmother graduated from there. But
really?
Yep, keep going.
Yeah, so many of us, of our age, have connections to Manual that we didn't even, realize.
Exactly.
And so the high school for Black students was Manual Training High School, and the white school was Central High School. And actually, Sadler Arts Academy is now home of the old Manual Training High School is home to Sadler Arts Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And so and Samuel L. Sadler actually had a really strong tie to Langston University, the only HBCU in Oklahoma.
Yes.
He actually wrote the song, Dear Langston. It
Crazy.
started the
Yeah.
first alumni association, School Pride. That's him.
Yeah.
But Sadler Arts Academy was named after Samuel L. Sadler because he was the longest serving principal of Manual Training High School. So being able to share the stories and the history of Manual and the students that went there, like I said, there were so many people who Leslie Sheffield, he was a world-renowned musician, and he actually settled most of his life in Oklahoma City, and he played at a great pianist. There's so many people that went to Manual, so I just love sharing their history, and then also the Greek organizations here in the community. They have a long history. My sorority.
Go ahead and shout them out. Go ahead and shout them
Alpha
out.
Epsilon Omega chapter
Okay.
of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We were the first graduate chapter to be chartered in Oklahoma. So sharing not just my sorority, but also, the Delta, the Omega Psi Phi chapter was here. The one that's in Tulsa, it originally started here in Muskogee.
Wow, I didn't know that.
We had a Zeta chapter at one time. So just being able to go back and share the different community engagement projects and things, and how they were involved in the community is really important to me, and making the connection with these people who not only had an impact in Muskogee, but the state, the nation, everywhere. These were not, the Black community of Muskogee was not to be played with.
Absolutely. People need to know that, though. No, that's facts.
These were affluent Black people who, which talking to Coach Troy Pettit, he was a coach at Manual it was a couple years before integration, but him sharing with me that the Black community was not even though they had money, and you knew they had money, you knew they were big time. They were some head honchos, living here, but they weren't stuck up. It was down to earth people. They just
I think
living.
I think more than ever right now, especially currently in 2020 with what's going on with police brutality and things like that. Black people, the Black community in general, needs to know that we are valuable, and we are worth something. Right now it's just so much going on. We're getting filmed being killed and things of that nature, and it's super unfortunate. But your stories will help in hopefully give them a stepping stool to become a better in society in general for whatever that they want to do. So I tip my hat off if I had a hat on, I tip my hat off to you. And on that, I wanted to ask you a question. So I want to say when I was in high school, I want to say science was my favorite, in math and science, I should say. But as I've gotten older, really knowing my history was really what I really wanted to know about more than anything, especially right now. Yeah. Is there any way, or is there any advice for the younger people than us that that are either in high school or in middle school, to get them interested on knowing their history, so they're better prepared for high school, college, just general everyday life, just stuff that they don't have to make the same mistakes that our ancestors did? Is there anything that you would any advice that you would give on that aspect of making it more interesting? Because I think, I'm interested in it, but some other people might not see it the same way that I see it.
Right. And I'm just going to put this out here. I feel like I was always rummaging through things when I was a child, and I was always hanging out up under my grandmother, and just kind of being with older folks. But history was not my favorite subject in school. Actually, I enjoyed algebra a lot more, I think, than history. But one thing that really excites me and really made the connection was being able to, as I got into genealogy research, connecting those history events that we talked about in school and everything, and seeing the dates and stuff where my grandparents and my great uncles and the duration of their life, if I'm looking at a certain point where my great grandmother was born, in that area, like what in history was happening at that time, and like making that connection really can change the way that you view history, because you know, with location and like the time frame, it's really interesting to make those connections.
Okay, so being more of like, I would say this. So I used to teach dance. So when I taught dance at the time, I would kind of figure out what their strengths and weaknesses were. If I was to be a historian like yourself, I would try to see what would it be fair to say what interests them the most, whether it's sports or whether it's, you know, music or whatever the case may be. And then if they liked music, okay, well, what music do you like? Well, here's the music from this time period. And would that be a better connection? Okay.
That's another way. So I was talking about, you know, specifically like a family example, but that's a great way to connect. Like I mentioned, Leslie Sheffield, like a pianist. Even if you're not doing the research yourself, just asking about what you're interested in. You know, if somebody would come up and ask me, like, you know, were there any, you know, famous athletes or something from Muskogee? Like, yes, there was a Hall of Famers, like many Hall of Famers that came that Muskogee produced. Boston Russell, he was actually we'll talk about him a little bit later, but he was a Hall of Famer at Langston University and went on, and he was a musician also, like he was a band director. So I think just talking with people and whether that be your family, your teachers, and just asking questions and trying to make those connections.
Okay. And just to kind of bring it back, so 2 years in with your PhD, you were working on year 3, right? Year 2?
Two.
Right, working on year 2. Once you finish, do you plan on coming back? Do you plan on coming back to Muskogee? Or do you plan on doing? I mean, do you plan on? Or do you plan on moving back to Muskogee? And if not, do you still plan on helping Muskogee and helping Summit out as well with that?
Yeah. Yes. I plan to definitely keep working and doing whatever I can for Muskogee and Summit, especially Summit. You know, that's my heart. Summit is my heart. So I can't say, you know, that I am, you know, officially going, you know, move back when I finish, because I don't know what's going to happen between now and you know 2.5, 3 years from now. But I will always, you know, want to see Muskogee succeed, because, like the old folks have been saying for years, like Muskogee has so much potential. And then I know people hate hate that term now, but there's so much that Muskogee has to offer, and again, this is another reason why I started Millennial Archivist, because I saw so much that was not being recognized in Muskogee, and not just, you know, for the historical fact of it. You know, you talk about heritage tourism, and not just African American history, the Native history of Muskogee, because it was a significant town and city in the whole grand scheme of Oklahoma history and the narrative of Oklahoma. So there's a lot to know. There's a lot to bring out and to highlight. And so I think I love that on the simple fact that right now, this is currently how I feel, but I feel like it can get better. But there's like this generational gap right now in Muskogee. And what I mean by that is we have the young kids, and then I'm kind of contradicting myself because we're young adults. Yeah. But there's not really that young adult gap right now, and then there's the older generation. Yeah. You know, I don't want to say names or whatever, but you know what I mean. And I think that the reason why so many of us young adults are moving is because we haven't seen Muskogee grow. But at one point, like you just said, Muskogee was on the rise. We were supposed to be what Tulsa is. Yes. So just to put it like that. And I definitely feel you, because even though there are young people like us that are, you know, within the community, we don't make up enough of the percentage. There's a lot of old money here. Yes. There's a lot of the older generation definitely takes over.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And even like when we were in high school, I can remember, us referring to the town. This is a retirement town. Like people
still call it, yeah. And I'm just like, man, we have so much potential. Yeah. Like, and now I'm starting to sound like Muskogee has so much potential, but no, seriously, like Muskogee has so much potential to grow and be better. And I think what you're doing with your podcast is great, because they need to see that this is what Muskogee was going to be, or this is what, another small town that you might, do a recording for. This is what that may be. So when we see it, or when the younger people see it, then it's like, okay, well, if this happened, then we can bring this to Muskogee. Right. Or, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, it's all about just, realizing that great things can happen here. And that's, I'll say that's it. Like, great things can happen here, and people don't, the younger generation, I want them to realize that and not just move away, because that's what happened to a lot of the historically Black towns that I have researched and worked for. There was not a lot of opportunity in the area, so they had to move. They had to provide for their family. They wanted to take take advantage of these opportunities, and you can't blame people for that. You can't blame young people for doing that if there's nothing for them there in the community.
Listen.
Unless you make it happen.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's my thing. Like, I feel like, and this is not just to boost Morris movement, but I feel like if I didn't have that, I probably would have moved away too. You know what I mean? So there has to be something for us. And like I said, your platform alone is hopefully going to boost or spark somebody's idea to make it, for even, young teens, let alone younger adults, but the younger teens, hopefully that they can get something together and make a plan for the future. Now, it might not happen when we get it, but hopefully the generation under us, or the generation under them, they'll be able to boost up Muskogee. Hopefully they see this and be like, I saw the Duan and Only podcast, and that it sparked the interest in me. Yeah. So let's get on your podcast for a second.
Oh.
Let's get on it. Okay. Do you have any stories that you would like to share today? On this podcast, on the Duan and Only Podcast, you got anything that you want to share with us?
I do. I have a couple of people that I want to share about. So do you know who the first Black councilwoman in Oklahoma was?
No.
I don't. I thought you were going to say that. No. But she was actually from Muskogee, Miss Avalon Reese. She was the first Black councilwoman in the state of Oklahoma. And she was a long time, she just passed away in 2017, actually. She was a longtime band director at Millennial Training. She had 45 years. She taught for 45 years, or was in education, somehow within the Muskogee Public Schools for 45 years. She's born and raised in Muskogee. She actually at one time was known as the first and only female band director in Oklahoma.
And I should know this. Like, I was
being band geeks.
Yeah, like, why don't I know this? No. Go ahead.
Us being band geeks. Yes. Like I didn't realize either. But she held a lot of titles as being the first of many things. She was also appointed in 1980 by Governor George Nye to a 9-year term with the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education. She was actually the first first or second Black regent there, and she served as chairman in 1987. Okay. And she also was a very active member of Alpha Kappa Alpha.
I knew you was going to bring Go ahead and shout out to, go ahead.
She was by soror, so she was very active in the local chapter here in Muskogee. She cared dearly for her AKA. Absolutely. It was very important for her to be involved, especially being she was also a counselor at when integration happened. She was also the counselor at Muskogee High School. So a lot of people here in the community still remember her as being their counselor at Muskogee High. Wow. So she was a really great woman.
Man, I'm sad I didn't know who she was. No, seriously.
But yeah, she if anybody was a member of Antioch Baptist Church, they remember her. A longtime member, really good friend of Reverend Noble there. So, but yeah, she was something. Let's let's see. I talked about the Hall of Fame earlier. He wasn't a Hall of Fame athlete necessarily, but he was a Hall of Fame agricultural educator.
Okay.
W.G. Parker, Willard G. Parker. He was born in a rural area, Porter, Oklahoma.
Porter Peaches, come on.
He was a Langston University alum, just
Okay.
like Miss Avalon. I didn't mention that, but she was actually an alum of Langston and USC. She went to USC.
Wow. Okay.
But Mr. Parker, he was a really great agricultural educator. So he taught ag ed at manual training for a long time. A lot of people still remember him being their agricultural teacher. He actually organized manual training's first student council, and he served as their advisor. As the agriculture teacher, he was the advisor for the Muskogee chapter of New Farmers of America. And that was a national organization whose purpose was to practice brotherhood, honor agricultural opportunities and responsibilities, and to develop those qualities of leadership that every NFA member should possess. So a lot of African Americans were a part of NFA instead of FFA.
That's what I was about to ask. What's the difference between those two? Or
Yeah, there was just a lot of things were segregated.
yeah, absolutely. I was like, wait, no, that makes sense now.
A lot of things were not a lot of opportunities were not afforded to us, so we had to make our own opportunities. But yeah, he was a big part of getting NFA chapter started in Muskogee.
Okay.
In 1956, he was actually the basketball coach at manual training. And he broke the racial barrier when he scheduled the Muskogee American Legion team, an all-white team, to play his team. That game actually never happened. They wouldn't play.
Wow.
But he, wanted to make a stand,
Yeah,
and offer his boys an opportunity to play.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1994, WG founded the youth organization REAP Inc., along with the late Sam Combs Jr., James R. Johnson, who was also from Muskogee, A.W. Hampton, and M.E. Gamble. And the acronym REAP actually stands for Retired Educators for Youth Agricultural Programs.
Wow.
And its mission was to help African American, Native American, and Hispanic youth experience career building opportunities and learn important life skills through agriculture and related activities. This is a nonprofit, and they partnered with Oklahoma State to put on different summer academies, overnight academies to have children of color experience college life, and different classes. And actually, I was a member of this organization
Okay.
before I even knew that Mr. Parker had anything to do with this, or anybody in Oklahoma had anything to do with this. With the establishment of it, so it just meant a lot more for me to be a part of that organization.
It's more special that you didn't know, and now that you know, it's like, man, okay.
Yeah, like I somehow kind of fulfilled his dream, of what he envisioned along with these men for children of color, and it's really special now too, because I have a really great relationship with his daughter. She's really, it's really just coming full circle,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To not know anything about him, and then just to
know everything about him and know who his daughter is right now. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, being her soror is special. It's really special.
Absolutely.
And in 1998, he was a recipient of the H.O. Sargent Award, which is the highest award given by the national arm of the FFA.
Okay.
So even, this is kind of a separate organization, but he was recognized for his impact and his involvement in the agricultural education field. He was just that big of a figure within the state of Oklahoma and beyond. And in 2011, he was inducted into the New Farmers of America Advisors Hall of Fame in Langston University.
2011, I just want to say.
Oh.
No, I graduated that year. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. That was a great year. Go ahead.
Oh, no. But lastly, he was also a proud member and a charter member, if I'm not mistaken, of the Muskogee Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated here in Muskogee. And he passed away in 2012.
Man,
but
what a life.
Yeah. A long, full life.
Yeah.
And like I said, it means a lot for me to be part of that legacy of what he wanted to establish for children of Oklahoma. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Well, man, let me tell you, I'm gonna have to do some researching, and I'm definitely gonna have to call you more often because I should have known the first one. I don't care what you say. You know, me being in band, I'm a little embarrassed now that I didn't know anything about it. But no, that's amazing, and that's why I wanted to do this collaboration with you, just on the simple fact that, man, I would have never known this if you never put your I can't even talk right now. If you didn't put your platform, you got me so frazzled. But no, you didn't put your platform to use. So, it's just an honor for you to, it's an honor for me and you to be together today. And I thank you for everything, for being here today. And I just wanted to thank you and give you your roses now. So
thank you.
You know what I mean?
I appreciate it. I love what I do. And I know a lot of people can't say that,
Yeah.
But I think this is my purpose. I think God put this drive and this on my heart to be able to share my family's legacy, but do it in many different aspects, in different arenas, in academia, in the community, as well. So it's really a pleasure, to be able
thank you.
to share.
No, absolutely. Thank you for being here. Okay, everybody, this is a very special episode today. So before I do anything else, I want to thank Miss Schuyler Carter for being here today. Stop what you're doing right now and follow her on IG and Facebook, right?
IG, yeah.
IG and Facebook.
At the Millennial Archivist.
At the Millennial Archivist. Follow her. If you need to know anything about your history, I'm pretty sure she's gonna cover it. I'm serious. She's gonna cover it. And I just want to give another special thank you. No, seriously, because this is just. I'm excited about it. I'm definitely excited, just on the simple fact that this is going to help so many people.
I hope so.
Older and younger. That's the vision of this, is to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to see this. Everybody has an opportunity to know things that's happening in Muskogee, because a lot of the time, a lot of people that I talk to or engage with, whether it's a move or whether I'm DJing them, just in regular conversation, they're just always down. I got to get out of Muskogee. No, wait. Right. There's greatness right here in Muskogee. You just gotta search it, look for it, and now they can follow you and find that strike gold as well. Again, thank you for everyone for watching the Duan and Only Podcast. Before I get out of here today, I'd like to give a special shout out to my elite sponsors: Oklahoma Farm Bureau Scott Abbott and Interstate Properties by Holly Miller. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
I am the Don Dada showstopper right now, is the one and only, no other. Just pulled up, lifted and persisted, ignoring my voice of reason. I've seen things that I'll never mention. I've seen people do more for attention. Here comes Mr. Know-It-All. I know so much, but I don't listen. Lord knows that I feel that pressure. God, please forgive me for stressing. Just pulled up, lifted and persisted, ignoring my voice of reason. I've seen things that I'll never mention. I've seen people do more for attention. Here comes Mr. Know-It-All. I know so much, but I don't listen. Lord knows that I feel that pressure. God, please forgive me for stressing.